Hi kids, it's me, Sarah Tate again, and I'm here to teach you your next virtual Sunday school lesson for this week. Are you guys excited? You actually caught me at the perfect time. I was just about to make lunch. I have a very special recipe that my mom showed me a long time ago, and I'm so excited to have it today, which kind of reminds me of today's lesson. Do you guys want to know what today's lesson is about? I'll tell you, but it's very important that you guys know something before we get started, okay? So, since Sarah Tate is an adult, I'm allowed to use the stove and touch hot things on the stove, but since you guys are kids, I want to make sure that you're safe and you never, ever touch the stove without your mommy or daddy's permission. Okay, you guys promise? All right, so today's lesson is about two brothers. Do you guys want to know what their name is? Their names were Jacob and Esau. And guess what was special about Jacob and Esau? They were twins, that's right. So if you didn't know what twins were, basically what that means is when they came out of their mommy's belly, they were born at the same time. That means there were one baby came out and then two babies came out. But there was something special about these babies. All twins, even though they're born at the same time, one has to be older than the other because one was born first. So this part of the story is very important. Guess who was the older twin between Jacob and Esau? Do you guys know? It was Esau, that's right. He was the older brother. So guess what that meant? That means that he has a very special gift called a birthright. And way back in the Bible times, a birthright means that you get very special blessings from God. So this was a really important thing to have. It means that you get to tell your younger brother what to do, and you're in charge of the family, so it's a really important and special blessing. So Jacob, when he was born, he didn't get the birthright. So he was kind of sad about it because his mother used to tell him when he was younger, Jacob, did you know that God spoke to me when you were still inside my tummy that you are going to be very special and you are going to be the leader of this family? So Jacob, in his mind when he was growing up, always thought, wow, I am going to rule over my brother, my older brother who has the birthright. That's pretty cool. But when Jacob and Esau were growing up, they didn't get along very well because Jacob got along with his mom and he spent time in the kitchen just like we're doing now, cooking and making delicious food. And Esau was outside with his dad and he liked to catch all the food that they would eat, like the deer and like cows and all the things that they used to eat back in the Bible time. That's what Esau liked to do. He liked to go hunting, so his dad really liked him for that. So guess what happened? One day when Esau was out and he was trying to catch dinner for that day or maybe some lunch, he was out for a very, very, very long time, like hours and hours. He was trying to catch the food that they were going to have, but he came home and maybe he didn't really catch anything that day because he was so hungry. Esau was starving. You know what it's like when you're really hungry? Maybe you didn't eat for a couple of hours and you're like, Mom, Dad, I want some food because I'm so hungry. That's how Esau felt that day. So guess what was happening in the kitchen? That's right. Jacob was cooking a very special soup and he knew that his brother Esau loved the soup that Jacob was making. So Jacob thought in his mind, whoa, I have an idea. Maybe this is the day that I'm going to get the birthright for my brother, because I know he's so hungry and he'll do anything to get this soup that I'm about to make. So guess what Jacob did? He said, all right, I'm going to take God's plan in my own hands and I'm going to get the birthright myself. So Esau comes in from the long hunting trip he had and he's like, Jacob, please, I'm so hungry. I smelled your soup from all the way outside and have a bowl ready. Can you please give me some of your soup? It's so delicious. And Jacob was like, no, Esau, I don't think so. You gotta give me something first. So guess what Jacob asked for? Do you guys think you can guess? Jacob wanted something so badly from Esau. Do you remember what it was called? It was called a birthright. That's right. He wanted that special blessing from God. So guess what Jacob did? Jacob said, hey Esau, I know you really want my soup, but guess what you have to give me in order to get this soup? Your birthright. And Esau was like, what? My birthright? I mean, okay, I guess, like, what's the point in me having it if you're just gonna let me starve to death? So Esau went ahead and said, okay, Jacob, fine, you can have it. And Jacob wanted to make sure that he got Esau's birthright. So he made Esau promise. You promise me, Esau? You promise you're going to give it to me? That means you can never take it back, just like I made you guys promise not to touch the stove without your mommy and daddy's permission. That's right. The same way he made him promise. And guess what happened that day? Esau gave Jacob his birthright, and that meant that Jacob got to rule over Esau, and God's plan came true after all. But let me ask you guys a question. Do you think this was the right thing for Jacob to do? Maybe not. It sounds like Jacob wanted to take God's plan in his own hands and come up with a way to trick his brother. That's not very right, and that's not what God asks us to do. So do you think that God forgave Jacob? Yeah, eventually he did. And God's plans came true for Jacob, and he got to be the father of many nations. That means he had a lot of sons who had a lot of kids. So he was very important and he was very blessed. But it wasn't right for Jacob to do that. So Jacob had to ask God for forgiveness. So if you guys do something bad sometimes, and maybe you didn't know it was bad at the time, it's okay. God is going to forgive you, but you have to ask God for forgiveness first. Just like Jacob did. Later, Jacob realized, oh man, what I did was wrong. Maybe I shouldn't have done it after all. And he felt pretty bad about it after. So in the same way, if God has a special plan for us, we should wait for God's timing and maybe wait for God to speak to us first before we try to take things in our own hands. And it's a very important lesson that Jacob learned that day. So I hope you guys learned something really important and that everyone sent in their memory verse for this week. I can't wait to see you guys. And we're learning Psalms 23 verse 3. So I hope you learn all of Psalms 23. You'll be able to say it by heart pretty soon. I hope you kids are staying safe and everyone's having a great week this week. And I will see you back next week. I'm praying for you guys and I love you kids very much.